Good morning, everyone. Grant, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Sure. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we want to take this moment to pause and reflect and thank you for all that we're blessed with on a daily basis. As always, as we move forward, we pray for our board, the employees of this county, the public that we serve. We pray that you'll continue to watch over for our decisions and for our families, and that you'll lead us safely as we leave here today. We ask forgiveness for our sins and our shortcomings, and pray for this continued season that all remain safe in Christ's name.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lance, would you do the roll call, please, sir?
Commissioner Harwell. Here. Commissioner Pitts. Yes. Commissioner Miller. Here. Commissioner Toller. Here. Commissioner Gould. Here.
Having a quorum, I'll call the meeting to order. This is a special call meeting, new business 2022 budget discussion. Angie, you want to?
So in your packets, one of the very first things that you'll see there is the list of all the budget requests from the different department heads. The first sheet is the stuff that we can talk about in open session and their requests. Just the office holders here also, if you've asked for any kind of raise for a specific individual and need to discuss their performance, we're going to talk about those in executive session because we don't talk about personnel's performance in open meetings. So it will fall under the personnel side. So we'll just start at the top. We're going to start with Tyler because he's got to get out of here and get to court, I think. So the first thing on the list for the state's attorney's office is, and I'll let each of the office holders kind of explain their own requests because you guys are going to know better than me. But the first one is a bridge between Lawman and PBK. Basically, in short, PBK is a system the state's attorney's office uses. Lawman is the system the sheriff's office uses. And Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, the sheriff's office has reports. Right now, they're having to re-enter all that information in their system, and this would bridge them together where when the sheriff enters it in PBK or the deputies, the main information, name, address, stuff like that, would populate in PBK?
That's correct.
Okay.
So essentially what this is aimed at is to reduce double work, reduce hours put in building files. What happens is the typical exchange of information between the sheriff's office and the state's attorney's office right now. Sheriff's office generates a report that goes into their program called Lawman. Okay. We then have to request, or they typically will just bring that report to us or email it to us. When they generate that report, they put in what's called the identifiers, or the important information about that individual who's named in that report as a defendant. That information is also transferred to the circuit clerk when they're opening their files in their office. But the idea here is that we eliminate a step where my staff has to double enter all of that information, as well as having to scan, copy, download those files, and then re-upload them into our PBK system. The idea here being that there would be a program developed or built that creates a bridge, and that's just a term we're going to call this, between Lawman and PBK where they communicate. So essentially what would happen is the sheriff's office, when they enter that report, when they put the identifying information in, etc., there's a command that's selected to export that to the state's attorney's office. Lawman then makes contact with my PBK system, which is my inter-office electronic file management system. It pumps the identifying information into my program, automatically populates that information, and it basically starts building our file based off of the same information that the sheriff's office is working off of. It also eliminates the step of having to grab a report from the sheriff's office where my ladies have to then take that, scan it in, or download it populate it into our system manually and create the file themselves. So basically what would happen is once that report is finalized and completed, they hit the send button, it sends it to PBK and automatically generates that file in my office, okay? So that would eliminate some time on the front end of file building in my office for every case file that we build there. It also would help to eliminate error where when you have different people putting in the same information, maybe somebody puts a 4 instead of a 3, maybe somebody spells a name wrong, eliminates confusion, should increase efficiency as well. And just the whole idea here is to save time because currently with the trends that we're seeing, crime is on the rise, unfortunately, no matter how hard we try. They do not stop offending. This year, I expect we're going to file at least 50 more felony cases than we did last year alone. Each one of those cases right now has to manually be entered by the sheriff's office. It's done again in my office. The goal of this programming would be to eliminate one step there, eliminate confusion, eliminate errors in information, and hopefully give us a little bit more time so I can keep my ladies busy doing the other administrative things to help build files, get pleadings done, get filing made, etc. My understanding right now, I did speak with PBK this week. The cost of building that bridge between the sheriff's office and the state's attorney's office would be a one-time cost of $5,000 with, I believe, a $1,000 monthly or yearly service charge to maintain that service. That $1,000 continuing fee would quickly be realized, the savings of time and, like I said, efficiency generally. So we are requesting funding to have that done.
Tyler, let me ask you, when you were talking, I was just thinking about this. So does PBK then work with Lawman? Like, do we have to get permission from Lawman to do it?
Well,
Or how does that work?
yes, they work, I guess we could say with each other. This is something that they have the capability to do. It's been done already. We wouldn't be breaking new ground and making this happen. There's a means to do it. I expect there's already a programming designed for the most part that would take care of this, but I don't have all the specifics of how the programming, you know, you have different functions for Lawman, different functions for PBK. I assume that different counties or police departments may or may not be paying for. So there'll be some programming that has to be done to make sure that it fits specifically for our Lawman here and our PBK as well.
Did we do a bridge for Lawman to something for your office?
Yes, inside of Image Trend, the ability for us to just extract times to our 911 system so that we can do
So we did
times
that.
and
So
dump
it'd be a
into our
similar
report.
idea to how that works.
Does this have any effect or consequence on the local PDs or just the sheriff's office?
Well, so the way I understand this is that the sheriff's office is sort of a clearinghouse for all the local PDs. All of that information will go into Lawman anyway. We can pump it out of the sheriff's office without having to build a bridge between every municipal police department.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought, but I was,
And does that cost us anything?
No, it would be on me. That's the way I've requested it, so.
So like Tyler said, it's a $5,000 one-time fee for them to build a program and then $1,000 that we would have to pay every year. So, and then you guys let me know how you want to do this. Do you want to just go through everyone's request and then you guys can talk at the end and decide what you want to do? However you want to do it, whatever you think is the best deal. I'll just need to know which stuff you're approving and what you're not. And if you want to approve some and skip some, that's fine too, whatever you want to do.
I personally would prefer to go through everything and then we can discuss. I mean, I speak up.
I can
So then the second thing that's on Tyler's list that he'll need to speak of is that he has requested a 4th paralegal position. So on your report, you'll see there the cost of the salary of the 4th position. That's just a basic salary, their hours times the rate in the contract. That's the $29,284. And then you would also obviously have to have benefits for that fourth position, which is your FICA, your health insurance, dental, life, IMRF. So that totals $16,988 for the benefits. So they're broken down separate. So do you want to
I can
explain
speak
the
to
need?
it, I can explain, its bottom line is, we are busy. We have more work than I think that, it's even reasonable to expect the ladies that we have up there to be able to get done. Again, I told you, we are not slowing down, we are seeing trends up. Increases in filings, increases in new cases, increases in court appearances, etc. We as the attorneys rely on those ladies that are in our office to file pleadings, to do research, to generate documents, to do file maintenance. Thank God we have what we have right now. I'm just going to tell you that looking forward, and you all are aware of what the Safety Act is by now, things are not going to slow down. They are going to get more busy. We are going to see more cases. We're going to see more offenders. We're going to see more court appearances. That keeps us out of the office where we don't have time to be sitting there pumping out paper, to be making phone calls, to be following up on investigations. We rely on our paralegals and our assistants to help us do those things. I work my girls into the ground, and I would put them up against just about anybody that would say that they're not busy up there. There's times I have to make them stop working. I have to tell them, don't take your work home, don't take your computer home, because you're gonna be working overtime and you're gonna be bumping your comp time limit. And that's a regular occurrence. I would like to have someone who is specifically focused as a paralegal rather than a office admin assistant, being the paralegal is focused more on research, writing, drafting, the legal specific things rather than the administrative things. Those are not easy to come by. They're not easy to come by for the salary that I'm requesting. Most paralegals are willing to make $40,000 to $50,000 as an entry-level position. That's a 4-year degree oftentimes. I'm selling that position short at the rate that it's requested at right now, but it's just undeniable that my staff right now is constantly inundated to the point where I have to tell them to stop working because we're trying to keep up. Work is not going to slow down. As hard as we're trying to kill this Safety Act issue, it will happen. I'm hoping that we have had some success with the lawsuits that we filed to curb some of the things back, but the pretrial issues that are going to happen and create a whole nother layer of work that we have to do on the front end of the case just for the court admin process. We have to essentially have a baby trial within 24 to 48 hours of an arrest now. That's going to require file building, that's going to require research, drafting, pleading, etc. on the front end that we're not even doing right now, let alone what it's going to be like come January 1st, and that additional layer of litigation, prosecution gets added onto our typical process in going through these things. And I'm just, it's facts. There is going to be a notable and very burdensome increase in our front end work just to start cases. So I'm requesting another position to help ease that burden, because right now I'm having to tell girls to stop working.
Thank you. You guys have any questions or?
The only thing, the Safety Act thing, which I know is gonna involve a lot of things, and I agree with you, it's eventually gonna be here.
Yeah, that's the sad truth.
Even though the courts are denying it right now. Only problem I have with stuff like this is if one of your girls has to come in on the weekend and work, they're gonna get paid overtime.
Well, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Well, I know, but nevertheless, I'm speaking to the Safety Act. When they come in on the weekend to work, which they will have to do, somebody, they're gonna get paid overtime. I just, looking at it as a double-edged sword, kind of double dipping. And, I mean, it's not your fault or ours, but that's the only thing I'll say about that, so.
We keep bringing up the Safety Act, if that does get abolished, or ultimately changes or goes away, is this person gonna be, forever? I mean, you keep bringing up the Safety Act, that it's gonna involve more and more time and people, but if it goes away, you know.
So if I'm going to give you the direct answer to that, I could hire another staff today, and they would be as swamped as every other girl that's up there right now. That's how busy we are, Safety Act or no Safety Act.
That's all I've got.
Okay.
If somebody else has a question, I mean, speak up, guys, now and ask your questions, or if you got a thought, because, so we can discuss it for a while.
Is there any particular category while we're seeing increased criminal activity?
Anything meth related. Meth's the big, I'd say 2/3 of the cases that we file have a meth charge. If they aren't a meth charge, it is someone who has been released on bond already, who's picked up another charge that probably has a meth charge, and now they're thieving, burglarizing, driving around with meth in their car, etc. So, I mean, meth is always on the rise. It has been trending up for the past few years. The days of the backwoods meth cook meth are over. We're now seeing crystal meth coming in mass across the southern border that's as cheaper than it was 5 years ago. So that makes the problem even worse. The other big concern is fentanyl. We're seeing a marked increase in fentanyl arrests. Oftentimes we'll arrest people who have their meth in one pocket and fentanyl in the other pocket. I can do more with sentencing people on fentanyl. The penalties are higher for fentanyl because it's the most deadly, dangerous, and concerning drug that's in our community. But that is also another product that's coming across the southern border in large amounts that we've never seen getting distributed up our way through different means, but fentanyl's on the rise too. But you have to realize that people support those habits by cutting off catalytic converters, by stealing and pawning and doing whatever else they can do to support that. So it's kind of, it all builds on itself. Yes.
Thank you, Todd.
All right. So the next section I have on here for you guys are the requests of the circuit clerk's office. And so obviously let Carrie speak on that. The request is for adding a 6th position to her office. Again, this is the standard hours for her office plus times the rate. So the cost of the 6th position is $27,809. And then once again, benefits are separate on a separate line for you guys. That's $16,811. So.
Hi, good morning. I'm going to ask you to indulge me a little bit this morning. I think that most likely my requests came as a bit of a surprise for all of you in light of the work that was accomplished over the last 2 years in my administration. And I'm glad that Tyler had the opportunity to talk to you this morning about the Safety Act and the potential implications of that over the next year and years to come. Because we rarely, as office holders, get time or the chance to talk about the things that we in our offices accomplish, and to hopefully provide some context for you, gentlemen, about the amount of work and the kind of work that's conducted in my office, I wanted to take a bit of my time today to explain some of those to you. So first of all, over the first 2 years of my administration, I cut employee headcount from 7 to 5. I was asked to cut it to 6, and I took it to 5. That happens because as a leader, I made a decision based on what the history was in this county as to how my office worked in the past. So I strategized, I implemented, and motivated a staff of 5 to complete the work that is required in my office. And included in that work is We created operational efficiencies to support that new staffing number by cross-training my team. They'd never been cross-trained before. So now somebody in civil who only did civil now can step in when it comes to criminal. It was mandatory that that happened in order for us to operate at what you as the board requested of this office in years past. You have to create a system that supports the idea of having less with the same amount of work. We did that. We also negotiated, the team negotiated in good faith with this board, a 5-year contract. So good that they received 1.5% increases on their salary year over year. So good that 2 other offices adopted said contract with same confines existing in them, which not only saved you money, but also allowed you to forecast for the next 5 years as far as salary costs are included. That doesn't happen by chance. It happens by strategy, and it happens with leadership. We also managed our way through COVID. COVID wasn't easy for anybody. It was expensive. They shut my office down several times because staff got sick. We went to Zoom as opposed to face-to-face court. There was a lot of pivoting that needed to occur by 5 people. 5 people, not 7, not 6, 5. We also seamlessly transitioned the entire judicial system, which includes Tyler's office, on how to implement the manual on record keeping, which completely blew apart another mandate by the Supreme Court on how we keep track of our files. And my office did that with 5 people, effective, efficient, and good at what they do. And then I wrote for and received a grant to help supplement the costs for my office by getting a grant for self-represented litigants. I set up a station to help with the COVID problems for people who have to represent themselves. We did that. Not only did I do it once, but I did it twice. Received money you don't have to give me. You're not giving it to me. I'm using it to supplement the income of my office. Our largest project, which is what brings me to my box today. So I'm gonna put this for all the public to see, because I think this is important for everybody to understand in the context of what we're talking about today. This is a box of files, one box. Imagine how many boxes you have from 1964 to present, downstairs in that basement. With 5 people, and thank you for the grace of your ARPA money, we took every file, every one of these files out of every box, opened it, broke it open, took all the papers out that weren't necessary in the file, which were secured files as designated by a judge, put it all back together, put it in another box, and went on. From 1964 to 2022, 5 women did that work. And really like one of you to pick this box up to see how heavy it is. Because every one of those ladies moved this box minimally 4 times in that basement. And then took it and staged it for someone else to pick up and put on a box. That's just extra work. That doesn't even include the stuff that they have to do on a daily basis. 5 people. They reboxed it, restaged it, and sent it off. Did it under budget, I might add, and on time. It was supposed to be done by end of fiscal. Last box went out October 31st, 2022. All this, again, done by extraordinary people, a brain trust of knowledge that, in my opinion, if I can insert it, grossly underpaid. Not my decision. I don't have anything to do with the negotiation of those contracts. That's between my staff and this organization. And at the same time, I created a plan to anticipate the need of the Safety Act. Tyler and I and the judges, everybody agree that it's an unconstitutional, unfunded mandate. But unfortunately, we're at the mercy of lawmakers. So therefore, we have to take a look, which I did. I spearheaded the project to implement the Safety Act in this county. I've met with our sheriff, the Jonesboro police chief, the Anna police chief. I've met with pretrial services, Tyler, the judges, to try to find a way to implement this program that we have to do. We're doing it, we're working on it, but it has implications for our offices. My office, while at the same time thinking to itself, oh gosh, we got to figure out how to get ourselves in line so we can operate even more efficiently with 5 people, because the request was 6, but we went to 5. But now we're saying to ourselves, what can we do to capture money? We have to find a way to generate revenue because our jobs demand it. We need to find it. So we embarked on several projects. My team went to work. They're awesome. We went on the pending bond project. What is that, you ask? We looked at every case that had bond pending. And when I say bond, it means money that we collected when Tyler arrested him, put him in jail, and said, we're gonna set your bond at $10,000. We collected the $10,000 and kicked the guy out of the street. Well, there's money pending, and it's pending because we have those cases pending. And some of those cases, as Tyler's already said, he might arrest a guy and he might get out on bond and then he'll commit another crime. So he might have 15 cases. So my team looked at those pending bonds and said, guess what? Joe Schmo has 15 cases, but guess what? I've got $10,000 holding on him and he owes us $9,000 on his other cases. So Judge, do you mind writing an order saying that we can take the $10,000 we have in the bank and apply it to the rest of its stuff so it doesn't sit in a bank making 0.003% interest? And the judge said, yeah, great. When we started that project, we had over $500,000 in pending bonds. $500,000 sitting, doing nothing, not going to the public defender, not going to the state's attorney's office, not going to the sheriff's office, not coming to my office, and definitely not going to your pocket. And my team, while doing that project and while conducting the normal business, found that money, executed against it, and put it in your pockets, down to $413,000 as I speak to you today. We secondly looked at our traffic department. We said, we got all these open traffic cases. They owe us a bunch of money. Why aren't we getting this money? So my team went through, extracted those traffic tickets, took them out of these boxes, looked at them, scanned them in, and said, this traffic ticket owes me $95, $124. We wrote up orders, we gave them to the judges, and we said, please sign this so that we can send these people to collections and the county can capture that money. You've captured it. During past administrations, when they had 6 employees, nobody had time to look at sending out bills for child support. Well, we found the time, efficient, the fun. And we said, you owe us administrative fees. So we sent bills out. You want to have us take care of your child support? You owe us money. And we collected over $5,000 with that project and then re-implemented it into our day-to-day operations. So now we won't have a backlog anymore because it's part of the process that the people in my office have to do. So we added another layer to the work we did. Then we took a look at our restitution. We found there's a bunch of money sitting in restitution. Money that's been either collected, that's supposed to be doled out to Walmart because Joe Schmo again decided he was going to go rob it for a bag of Doritos, and we slapped him with a charge. So he has to pay restitution to Walmart for that Dorito. Well, that money's sitting in an account somewhere. Again, never been taken care of and never been doled out. So my team went through every court file, some of which are in boxes still, and they did what they needed to do with that restitution money. Cleaning books, making money, ensuring that we participate in the success of the organization through capturing money that's been sitting stagnant because of lack of foresight, planning, and leadership to identify those things and take care of them. And now in our second year, we're on an exhibition project. I talked to the sheriff about this. What we're doing is we're going around the courthouse and finding out that exhibits exist all around the courthouse from court cases. Why are they all over the courthouse? I don't know. There were 7 people. But the bottom line is now we have to go collect all of that. We have to go put it somewhere. We have to catalog it. We have to ask the Supreme Court if we can destroy it if it's eligible. And then we have to maintain that exhibit list. That's another special project that my team's going to be doing. Wills, we need to make sure we have them all. We got to scan them. We got to make sure they have access to the genealogists who come in my office, the people that come from all over the state trying to find out about people in Union County. So my team's going to scan those all in. Why? So it's at their fingertips. So we don't have to find resources to go downstairs and do that. And we have a second phase of scanning. I showed you earlier that we took out every file folder and we had to pull out secure documents. Well, now we got to put it all back in. So my team's going to have to spend their spare time, which I use that phrase using sparingly, to figure out a way to scan in all those secure documents and include them in the files. So that's special projects. That's what we've done, and that's what we're fixing to do in the next 2 years. So let's talk a little bit about what we do on a day-to-day basis. That was just the fun stuff. That was just the extra stuff that I created a strategy for us to complete to solve for issues that we as a county have. But on a day-to-day basis, remember this number, 8,000. 8,000. Let me finish. 8,000 of these are handled every year in my office. 8,000. My staff generates 8,000 files with an average of this much paperwork in it every year. 4,500 of those come from civil lawsuits. Civil lawsuits and non-criminal traffic, which means that they are touching 4,500 cases a year without including anyone else in the process other than themselves and the judges. Now, we've got 3,500 that come from his office that we touch every single year, on average, year over year. We've been doing that daily, in addition to special projects, creation of efficiency, and doing it with less money, some of which was generated by my office, myself, which wrote for it. And now here comes the safety, right? Safety Act, unconstitutional legislation that unfunded and mandates us to do more work than we already are doing. And I'm doing it with five people. So I have to say to myself, as Tyler just said, it's going to increase admin. When his admin increases, my admin increases. Because everything that comes through this courthouse in the judicial system is touched by my office. 3,500 of it comes through him. 4,500 of it comes from the rest of the world, combined to be 8,000 cases. 8,000 with that much revenue. So when I looked at what I needed to do for this year, I said to myself, what can I do as an office holder to ensure that I supply my office with minimal amount of support that they need to institute the safety act, okay? And because I am within the confines of the union agreement, I can't conduct it like a business person. When you work in a private sector, you look at your employees and you say, okay, I'm going to audit you and I'm going to give you an evaluation, and based on your evaluation, I'm going to compensate you for X, Y, and Z. Thank you so much, you're wonderful. It inspires your people to work. They want to work harder. My team's working harder. It didn't ask for the moon in the last contract. So now I'm going to say to them, hey, listen, this is coming. Like we're anticipating it. What are we going to do? So my only recourse is to look at the confines of my agreement with you, your agreement with my employees. So what are my tools? So here are my tools, and this is what I ask of you today. And I hope that when I ask this, that we can keep a couple things in mind. I recognize, let me just make sure you understand. I recognize the past administrations have weaponized employee headcount. I recognize that the weaponization of employee headcount and managerial pay has been the tool by which things have been conducted in the past. I know it. It's a sad truth, but it's true. And I acknowledge it, and I know it probably leaves a little bad taste in everybody's mouth when it comes to some of the asks I'm asking for. But what I hope you can understand is that the leadership that I provide, what I'm doing here is trying to create a system, a group of employees that work hard, are efficient, and set up systems that exploit what we need to exploit to ensure that our offices run correctly. Okay? So it would be nice if I could stand up here too and say to you, guess what? This is all coming. Tyler and I both have talked about this. The Safety Act's coming. He and I are just 365, 7 days a week, right? We're going to be required to have pivot all the time. We may have to open on a Sunday. We may have to be here on a Saturday. If Tyler decides to file and says we want to do a hearing on Monday morning, he's going to have to file that through my office on Saturday. We don't have the luxury of working from home. So what does that mean? Somebody's going to have to come here, open a door, turn on a computer, accept the filing, file stamp it, create a file, paper or on paper, whatever you want to say, and collect all the data prior to Monday morning. That's gonna happen. That'd be great. You can say, Carrie, you should do it. You're elected. People paid you to do it. Great. 365, 7 days a week. He has an assistant. He has 2 assistants. Assistant here, public defender has an assistant. And the judges, there are 2 of them. They can rotate. I'm 1 person. So to solve for those things, I think that there's 2 options for us. 1, give me a 6th. Full-timer, bring them in. They can do minimal tasks. Maybe they scan, maybe they do some of the stuff that doesn't require a brain trust, because I have a staff of very well-trained people that I want to know. Or you can stay within the confines of the contract, right here, the one we all signed, everybody signed and negotiated with the people of my office, and you pay managerial pay. We designate somebody and give them extra money. The one's gonna cost you $50K, the other one's gonna cost you $3,900. From a fiscal perspective, I think the answer is kind of not really a question at that point. But I can't do it with what I have. I can't. It's physically impossible. We can't achieve greatness. We can't innovate. We can't continue to implement change with the introduction of the Safety Act. It's impossible. Now, I heard Max ask, what happens if the Safety Act doesn't happen? Okay, well, if the Safety Act doesn't happen, well, then I guess you don't need any of those things. But you're gonna find that you get less and less motivation, less and less inspiration to continue to innovate and create change if we don't start compensating for extra motivation. Do you guys have any questions for me? Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'll congratulate you, Terry. I'll be the first one to do that. What an outstanding job you've done.
Thank you.
Listening to you and what all your team of 5 have done, sounds like to me you're pretty damn efficient.
Very efficient.
So, I don't see, I'm just being blunt, as efficient as they are and done all this, why the hell you need a 6th person?
Okay. I can understand.
I mean, you sold me on the 5 you got can do anything. So, as it relates to the Safety Act, and I think it's on the next page, your managerial request. I guess you're saying either or.
Yeah, I mean, I need something. I can't, and I wouldn't ask for a 6th if I didn't already know that we have had such contention in the past over these issues. I think that what I struggle with as a leader is the idea that I was hired to create and implement change. There was something that wasn't working, and part of what wasn't working is that there was constant argument over employee headcount and managerial pay. And
Well, yeah, there was argument, we had grievances filed against.
I know that, but here's the thing, it
Supposed
still exists, and it's designed not to be used as a sword, but rather to be used by mindful leaders who utilize that for the purposes it's intended for.
But my question is, back to what I just said, are you saying either or, a 6th person or?
Yeah, and I leave, and that's
Look at
where,
the managerial
yes, sir,
situation.
that's absolutely what I'm asking.
Well, again, just like I spoke to him, we're not naming names here
No, we
in
can't.
this, but if somebody has to come in and work on the weekend, I'm assuming you don't plan on doing that yourself every weekend, I understand that.
Right.
That's not fair.
Mhm.
Somebody in your staff, who they're all apparently qualified, take turns or whatever, come in on the weekend, they're gonna get paid overtime.
Mhm.
So why would you give them the stipend as a manager and then again pay them overtime on the weekend, which we would have to do?
True, and
That's double dipping.
well, I agree with you on that, in the sense that, yes, you are gonna have to pay them the overtime at their hourly rate, because they're about hourly employees, I agree with that. But you're also only focusing on the fact that the increased work is gonna occur on the weekend. There are gonna be requirements of our offices that happen during the week, that are gonna create additional duties for our office in general. And so as a manager or a leader, my job is to take a look at my resource allocation and say to myself, okay, I know that this minimally Safety Act is going to require additional workload in my office. How within the confines of union agreement can I allocate those that additional resource in a way that doesn't impede upon what exists in that contract? What are their duties? What's their position? And what do they get paid to do? In the Safety Act, he and I are going to be struggling, and this is going to happen for the first 6 months. And the Public Defender's Office, we're going to have to figure out like who's going to get that extra work. And so I need to compensate someone. So I have a designee to do that to. And the only way to do that fairly within the confines of that contract is to utilize the clause for its intended purpose. Not to utilize the clause for the purposes of weaponization, but to utilize the clause for what is intended for. It exists because these kind of things happen in the law. That I could have done it last year. I actually went down during the implementation of the manual on record keeping employees. We were able to do that. But this is a different beast. And because of the nature of the politics that are assigned to the Safety Act, we are going to have one day, Tyler can say, we'll get an email and he'll say, this is going to be what it is. And then 2 days later, we'll get another thing. Oops, nope, not going to be that. We're going to change it. So that constant pivot causes us to have to reallocate resources on a daily basis. And it's going to increase the workload. So the most financially, no, I don't want to use that word. I believe that the best use of taxpayer money is to use less of it to get more from it. And so that's just my financial fiscal approach to business in general. So if you have two options, full-timer or managerial pay, it's a no-brainer to me as a business person, financially.
I understand that, and
So-
your numbers are correct, but what I'm saying is, I'll just pick a number out of the air, that we go backwards, and I want to understand that, because we fought so hard to get out of that situation. Let's say we give somebody $3,000 or $4,000 extra a year for that position, and then that person comes in on a weekend and works, they're gonna get paid again.
Yes, they are.
You don't see that as a problem?
No, I don't. I don't see it as a problem because I look at it, either way you look at it, the chances of them coming in frequently enough based on the calculations that I've done on averaging out employee costs and all that stuff, you're still saving money because you're not paying $50,000 for an employee. Heck, you're not paying for all of that overhead. You're not paying salary, you're not paying benefits, you're not paying monthly to have them have an email address. You're not paying for that. And my team has saved you a ton of money on that union contract at 1.25%
Hey,
year over year. So
I know,
when you look at,
quit referring to the union contract, that was negotiated. I didn't make them do it, you didn't make them do it. So
But-
that's not part of this deal.
well, okay, I respectfully disagree with you, but I think that there are money savings that my office in good faith has tried to create for this county. And I don't think an
I
investment
appreciate that.
and we really are. I mean, and it is true strategic intention. As a leader, that was my job, you know?
Sure.
And so I've done it, and I'm asking you to trust me with the decisions I continue to make for my office and for this team. That's what this comes down to. You have to trust in my process and my ability to do what is right, and what I believe is the right thing to do is always driven by what my responsibility is as an elected official for the people of this county. That's what I am responsible for. And so as long as
So are we.
yeah, but, and that's why I'm coming to you and giving it all to you. I mean, these are my options. Other than that, the strategy could fail.
You've indicated the cohesiveness of your staff.
Yes.
If of the 5 people, you select one to be your manager, and that cohesiveness that exists,
Yes, sir.
will it interfere with that cohesiveness?
No,
The other 4 people?
I don't believe so. And the
Somebody's
reason.
gonna get, more compensation, so.
No, I think that maybe in past times, maybe that could have been true. Because I think that, again, I think this tool was weaponized. It was weaponized against this board, and it was weaponized in that office against the women. It's not a weapon. It truly should be utilized for what its purpose is, which is to identify the people in your office that are equipped, prepared to be managers on a day-to-day basis and take on extra work. That's what it's designed to do. You worked at a bank, you understand that. You know that that's how we deal with employee relations, and you guys even have implemented doing employee evaluations here in the county. Like, you have to identify who your leader is and give them extra duties and compensate for them for that. The people in my office have been through a lot in past administrations, as have you. And now they believe in each other, and they believe in each other as leaders, and they're not gonna be mad that one person's getting paid a little bit more than not. My goal is hope it inspires them. Like, do well, do great things, be
In other
good.
words, if that employee
Yeah.
leaves, that
And
they're
so
in
I
line.
think that it's part of a larger strategy that I'm not willing to like reveal to everybody in this room today, because I don't think anybody cares, and probably half this building's like, shut up already behind me. But the fact remains that it's part of a larger strategy, and I do not think that my staff is gonna be like at each other's throat, angry because somebody else is getting $3,900.
What's your opinion of other offices, staff, how they will react?
I guess that's not for me to be worried about. I mean, honestly, I know that it's a concern for you guys. I know.
Yeah,
Listen,
we
I know
have to
that.
worry about that.
I do understand that, but I also would kind of have to throw it back at you and be like, you're the all powerful, right? You guys control the purse strings. At any time you can say no or yes. And if you decide next year to say to me, Carrie, you can't have that person anymore. Okay, what am I gonna do about it, right? In the end, it's the decision of this board to make, and it's the decision of this board to decide whether or not you trust in the process that I've created and the work that we are putting out,
Well,
and allow me the opportunity to set up a stage for myself that continues a trajectory of that success.
we'll discuss this more, but let me just say,
Yes, sir.
it's not about the money, first of all. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I don't mean that in a.
Well, aren't we lucky that that's not the
Well,
problem?
it
That's a
is,
good thing.
But
That's a
it's
good thing.
because we have made decisions to get to that point.
Mhm.
But we do have to look at the other offices.
I can appreciate that.
And I can assure you, and I think Kent would back me up on this, doing union negotiations for several years,
Mhm.
that this is gonna create a problem. I can assure you that.
Okay.
And I'm just letting you know that.
I mean,
And I know that's not your problem.
it's my problem because I'm concerned as a stakeholder in this organization about that happening. However, again, I'll tell you that, the power lies in your hands.
I know it does, but
And so
what I'm saying.
If
Terry,
you don't want to give
I don't-
managerial pay to somebody in another office, you say no. If you should only dole out and use this particular power for the purposes it's intended. And if it's not intended, which it wasn't in the past, I'll be the first to admit, there were people that were manager paid in my last 2 administrations that, based on the work that I saw when I took office, did not deserve that pay. I'll say it publicly. They didn't deserve it, but they got it. I am not intending to use it as a weapon or as a loyalty pay. I want it to be given to people to do what I need them to do, which is increased workload.
I understand.
But I
what
get where you're coming from.
I understand what you're asking, but again,
Okay.
we've got to think ahead and look and see, who else is gonna say, I need a manager in my office.
Okay,
And
well,
then in the same sentence, they're gonna say, well, you did that in there, and they were sufficient and efficient,
right,
totally, so why can't I have one? Yeah, we can say no, we have that power.
Mhm.
We can tell you no,
yeah,
But I'm just saying, that's what I'm looking at. It's not about the money or the individual.
No, I know, and I don't, I'm not, again, like, let me go back. I'm not seeing this as throwing bombs. Like, I don't take it personally if you say yes or no. I will disagree with the strategy of the board in that decision, whatever, if you choose not to or to. But you can't handcuff me and penalize my office for efficiency in light of the fact that we are going to have an increase in requirements coming down from the state. So we're great and efficient and we can overdo and all that stuff. That's wonderful. If any reason, I should be rewarded for efficiency, not for inefficiency. And that's the decision the board has to make. Those are determinations that the people of Union County hire you to do. My job is to look at my organization, which I consider my circuit clerk's office an organization, a business that I lead. I create strategy, I motivate, I implement. That's my job. I've done it. Now I'm coming to you, who are my purse strings, because Lord knows if I had my own purse strings, things would be different. And say to you, here's the argument. This is what I've got. This is what I've done, and this is what I need. So again, I ask you, you can either hit me up with a fourth person or sixth person, and I can figure out how to train them up so that they can do minimal work for me so that I can reallocate my brain trust at $50,000, or you can allow me to parse out the duties differently and pay $3,900 for a manager. Those are the options. Taking out all of the other background. Those are your options.
No, there's a third option,
Which is,
either one.
okay,
I mean, and I'm not trying to be smart, but again, we have to look at the big picture, not just your office. And again, pushing this on this Safety Act, if people have to work extra, they're gonna get paid, and they're gonna get paid fair and for their work.
I don't think that's true. I disagree with you on that, sir. I just disagree with you.
Well, then
And that's
maybe they'll
okay
come
for
in
us
and
to
do it and not
disagree.
get paid.
But it's okay for us to not disagree, but I have to respectfully disagree with you. And I have to say that I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't come before you and ask for what I think we need. If I didn't do that, I would, because of all the history that exists in this county that I had nothing to do with, I wouldn't be doing my job. And so the reality of the situation is, if he's gonna ask you for additional staff, and all these people around me are asking for all this additional stuff to compensate for what they anticipate to be the need for the Safety Act, it behooves me to ask for the same, because everything comes through my office. Nothing goes around my office, nothing. It takes a human being. We can't work remote, we're not doing any of that. They have to bring bodies into the seats. And I have to continue to maintain the integrity of the work that we do, the efficiency of the work that we do with the people that I have. So that's where I leave it. I mean, I can't overcome that argument from that. It's just not something I can talk to, because it's not something that, if you want my opinion, I give it to you, but I'm probably not good at it. So,
All right.
thank you.
We'll look at it, appreciate it.
Can I say something real quick, Max? I know a couple months ago, the railroad almost went on strike, and one of their major complaints was the guys wasn't getting no time off. They was literally working the rails 6 and 7 days a week, and they had no time to be with their families or anything. And I just wonder if, with this Safety Act coming first of the year, really we're anticipating a lot bigger workloads. And I just wonder, to do the job that they're doing with just the staff that they have, and yeah, they would get paid for coming in on Saturdays and Sundays, but I don't want to have the same problem as the railroad did, where people are getting burned out because they're just being overworked.
I understand that.
You know, because I know people want to be with their families, you know, and I just want to take that into consideration.
And I think we should. Yeah. Can we pause and take a short break?
Can I say something before we do that? We talked all about the Safety Act, and I think you're gonna hear more about that from other law enforcement specific people. And I can see where you guys are gonna get sick of hearing that, like we're justifying every possible thing off of this
I'm already
act.
sitting here.
I'm sure you are, well, I am too, I promise you that. But the reality of the situation is this, Safety Act or no Safety Act, right now, I have 5, and we use felony criminal cases, the barometer for our workload. Right now, as of November 4th, we are already 25 cases over what we filed on the whole year last year. I'm on track to file 350 felony cases this year. So it's not just the Safety Act, it's increasing the work in my office, in her office, in the sheriff's office. It's the problem with methamphetamine, it's the problem with the bail reform that we've already dealt with, where they just kick these people out on the streets a week after we lock them up, whether we try to keep them in or not. So that workload increase, that's already happened, it's already happening, and we're seeing it. It's going to compound once the Safety Act happens. We're already struggling with workforce demands. So that's, I wanted to tail it off because a lot of what Carrie said overlap with what I'm saying. You're gonna hear more about it. It's not just the Safety Act, gentlemen. It's the problem with crime in general.
I understand that. I know it's gonna be a problem for all of you. There's no doubt about
But I just,
it.
I know
am
we've
having
been
a
hammering on.
hard time
it.
correlating the difference in a small manager pay in her case and another full-time employee. That doesn't add up to me, but that's just me. Let's take a quick break. Not for a break. Wait a second, before she shuts the camera off.